welcome to the very first video that I'm making for accent reduction. Now, I'm making an entire series of accent reduction skills and pronunciation. And accent reduction and pronunciation are a little bit different. They kind of overlap, but they're a little bit different. But I'm going to make another video later on about the differences between accent reduction and pronunciation. All right, now, for this first video, we're basically going to be focusing on introduction to accent reduction. What is it? Why is it important? Some of these goals, some tips to get you started with reducing your accent and improving your pronunciation. So we're just going to start off with that, basically. All right, so we'll start off with some objectives. What are these objectives? The objectives for today is basically to provide an overview of accent reduction. It's important and how it can be achieved. All right, so accent reduction is important for several reasons. We're going to go over a few of those reasons a little bit later on. But again, this is just the very first video. In future videos, we're going to be talking about more in-depth and more technical aspects and activities that you can do and all these different things that you can do to improve your accent skills. All right, now we'll start off with the introduction. What is accent reduction? All right, now the definition. Accent reduction, also known as accent modification, involves learning how to pronounce the sounds of a language more like its native speakers. In this case, American. Right? I can't help you with the British accent, nor would I want to. This is American accent. All right, so obviously I am American, and I focus on the American accent. All right, now, what is the goal here? The goal is not to eliminate one's original accent, but to enhance clarity and understanding in another language. All right, and I always, in the accent reduction lessons that I give on a daily basis, I always clarify that to all my students. I always tell them the same thing. I don't want any misconceptions here. The idea is not that you're going to completely get rid of your accent. If it's possible, it's extremely difficult to do that. Nor do I think you should want to get rid of your accent. There is no such thing as a good accent or a bad accent. Accents are just sounds, right? So it's what's more common and what's less common. So that's basically what we're going to be going over in these series of videos here on this channel. We're going to be talking about what type of sounds are more common and what type of sounds are less common to sound more like an American speaker. All right, so whether you have a Russian accent, a Hindi accent, French accent, you're always going to have a tinge of a little bit of your accent there. It's always going to be there, but we're going to reduce it a little bit so that you sound a lot clearer, and it's going to make you feel a lot better, and you're going to be a lot more confident. All right? Now, why is accent reduction important? For a few different reasons. One, for personal confidence. So improved pronunciation can boost self-confidence in speaking. In my experience, that's probably the number one thing that I come across. All right, I've had students who need a lot of work with their accent because it's really difficult to understand them. And I've had students who sound almost like a native speaker. If they were to tell me that they were born in the U.S. and grew up in the U.S. their whole life, I'd believe them because their accent is spot on. Yet they're looking for accent reduction lessons because they lack confidence. So one of the most common reasons and that I give accent reduction lessons and make videos related to it is to improve confidence. You know, if you have a great accent, I'll let you know. And it's always important to improve as much as possible. So that's personal confidence is one of them. Professional opportunities. Clear communication is key in professional settings. So it is super important to communicate clearly in the office, in meetings, in interviews. Super important. How many students have I not had that they go to interviews super nervous, primarily because of their pronunciation and accent skills because they feel that they can't come across clearly. It's super, super common. They know the grammar, they know vocabulary, they've studied English for years and years and years, most of their life. So they're pretty confident with the technicalities and the mechanics of it, but when it comes to pronunciation, they're very self-conscious, and you shouldn't be, So confidence, one, professional opportunities, also personal opportunities, but professional opportunities. I have helped students countless times acquire the job that they're looking for and get the opportunities that they're looking for, a pay raise or job promotion or changing their careers just by simply enhancing the way that they sound much clearer, and in turn that will also improve your confidence. So they kind of go hand in hand. And the third point, social interaction. So it helps in reducing misunderstandings and fostering smoother conversation. So that's kind of a given. It's kind of obvious. The whole idea here is to be more confident, and in outside of the professional setting, personally, you're going to be able to express yourself a lot better and going to be able to make better connections, network better, and hang out with friends, whether they be American or not. But yeah, it's going to help you socially interact as well. Common myths about accent reduction. All right, it's late over here. I'm a little tired. So common myths about accent reduction. Myth number one, losing your accent means losing your identity. So it's about adding a skill, not losing part of oneself. All right, so if you reduce your accent and you sound less Russian, less Asian, less French, less Italian, less Brazilian, or whatever, you're not losing your identity, all right? Because that's your mother tongue. That's going to be with you forever. All we're doing is enhancing the way you communicate so that you sound a little bit more like an American. That's it. Myth number two, only new learners need accent reduction. Accent modification can benefit even advanced learners. So I would say primarily for beginners, low-level students, they should focus a little bit more towards pronunciation, not so much accent reduction. I actually personally do not offer accent reduction to any student under B1 level, more or less, maybe B2, B1, B2. If they're A1, A2, which are beginner levels, I don't offer accent reduction for them, right? Because accent reduction is like pronunciation on steroids. Basically, it's getting into all these technicalities and getting into all these very detailed aspects of language to sound like an American as opposed to pronunciation. Again, I'll reiterate, we'll talk about the differences between accent reduction and pronunciation in detail in a future video. But I would actually say if you are level B1, which is intermediate, higher, accent reduction would benefit you greatly. All right, so only new learners need accent reduction? Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. New learners focus on pronunciation. If you're intermediate or higher, focus on accent reduction. Now, basic principles of accent reduction. Listening skills. Importance of developing an ear for the rhythm, intonation, and stress patterns of the target language. So I say this, I don't know how many times I've said this. I've said this a million times throughout the last years. Not only for accent and pronunciation skills, for every single skill in English, to improve your English skills, the number one thing you have to improve is listening. Listening is by far the most important skill, right? If you improve your listening skills, you will improve everything else. It's just kind of like the domino effect. Your listening skills go up, in turn, your speaking skills go up, vocabulary goes up, pronunciation goes up, grammar will improve. Everything stems from listening. So listening skills, number 1. Phonetics, understanding the physical aspect of producing sounds correctly. All right, so again, these are sounds. I always say English is an auditive language, meaning that it's not like other languages where you, excuse me, where you read and then you pronounce it the way you read it. In most other languages, that's the way it works. In English, it doesn't work like that. English is an auditive language. We focus on sounds. So it's always good to, that's why listening is important. Develop your listening skills. Pay attention to the sounds, to the phonetics of how certain words and expressions and phrases sound. And you're going to be able to replicate it or imitate it and produce the sound independently of how it's written. It doesn't matter how you write it. Listen to the sound. And last but not least, practice. Regular, focused practice is crucial. In a future video, we're going to get into the types of practice we can get. We are going to talk about active learning, passive learning, the different ways you can practice your accent reduction skills and pronunciation. We're going to talk about all that in the future, but I would say it's kind of obvious, right? Practice makes perfect. So practice, practice, practice. Now, tips to get started, because we're just starting. Again, this is the very first video, a very first video of many, 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 many videos that I'm going to be creating. So tips to get started. Number 1, imitation. Practice by imitating native speakers, using resources like movies, podcasts, and audiobooks. I would include music, in fact, among many other things that you can do. Imitation. Listen, repeat, listen, repeat, listen, repeat. The most basic thing you can do. Recording. Record and listen to your own speech to identify areas for improvement. Very few students do this, and I always tell them to. It's a little bit of work, but you have to kind of work a little bit, but record yourself. Make a video of yourself and save that video somewhere. And then 1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, after practicing, record a very similar video and see how you've improved. It's going to help you a whole lot. Feedback. Seek constructive feedback from native speakers or professionals. So if you can engage in tutoring or English lessons, you can post down in the description the link to the platform where I give English lessons, and you can visit that. But have English lessons so you can get feedback and correction, and that's a really, really good way to know where your weaknesses are, right? Now, the quote, I always like to end the lessons, or in this case, the video, with a quote. I love quotes, very motivational, in this case from Lao Tzu. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right? Super important that you're excited, you're pumped, but don't just stay there. Take action. Take action. With the following videos, I'm going to give you more or less an idea of which route to go and how you can navigate your way through acquiring a better accent or a clearer accent, but definitely take action. It starts today. All right. Now, again, a very short, very quick, easy video going. It's the very first video. We're going to get into a lot of other things in future videos. So if you did like the video, I highly suggest that you subscribe, like the video, hit the notification bell so you can get notified of upcoming videos and little mini lessons and things that we're going to be getting into in the future. And yeah, share it. If you know somebody who needs accent reduction and pronunciation lessons, share this video with them, and I'm sure it's going to help them as well. So again, subscribe. Subscribe is just a little click. And again, begin today. Begin today, and before you know it, you're going to have so many more opportunities pop up for you. All right, so I'm going to let you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for upcoming videos because I'm going to get into a lot of other areas of accent reduction. All right, peace.